Hello everyone, this is Dr. Prabjot Singh and I'm MD physician from Yerevan State Medical University 2018 passed out. Currently I'm a junior resident at AIMS Jodhpur. I'll be talking this video basically about the fact that I have seen that there are many doctors in the sense, I don't know, should I call them the doctors as per the Indian terms and conditions or not, because these people are usually foreign medical graduates. I'm also a foreign medical graduate, so there is no problem in that. But the thing is, these people, they haven't got their Indian license yet, but they are trying to practice. They are trying to practice in the sense that they don't have the clinical exposure yet, but they are acting as if they know everything, and due to which they are spoiling the medical condition of the patients. So basically, these people obviously everyone thinks that they are the graduates. They have passed out from the medical university, from the med schools, so they have immense knowledge about the medical background and everything. That's good. The majority of them they do have, but they lack in the clinical exposure. They lack in the terms of internship, because internship can only be done in internship is valid in India only from the 5 foreign countries. Otherwise, the students of the other students, those who have passed out from the other countries, the medical universities, apart from those 5 countries are Australia, New Zealand, England, US, and Canada. If someone is practicing in India and has done his UG from abroad, apart from these 5 countries, then they need to write an Indian medical licensing exam known as a foreign medical graduate examination, and only after that they are able to do the internship, because only after that they will get their registration, they get their license. So the people, those who haven't cleared this exam and haven't done the internship, are basically prescribing wrong medications, leading the patients in the wrong direction. And they don't have any knowledge how to interpret the reports. They basically refer with the fact, like all the laboratory reports, they have the reference range written with them along with the result. So they just know, okay, if it is in the reference range, it's okay. But even if it is slightly up in the reference range, they know that something is wrong. But they don't know that reference range in some diseases, it gets changed. It is not always the fixed. The reference range, it changes with respect to disease, with respect to the age, and with respect to multiple factors, multiple comorbidities, or multiple factors which are there. Talking about one such scenario, because these days COVID is going on, I'm making this video basically based on the fact that these patients are advising wrong medications, wrong procedures to the COVID patients. So coming on to the clinical scenario, I'll talk with the help of an example. The C-reactive protein, or commonly known as CRP, normally it should not be more than 10, but in COVID we consider its value a bit more than 10. Reason being, first I'll talk about CRP. What is it, and what factors affects its values. CRP is basically capsular polysaccharide of the C-reactive protein. It is C stands for the capsular polysaccharide. So in that, basically it's an inflammatory marker in the body. When there will be some kind of inflammation, be it a simple toothache, be it a simple injury, be it a simple dental procedure, CRP will rise in that also. Okay, so normally we consider it up to 10, but in these procedures, in these cases also it will rise. It might even reach 15, 16. So in COVID, inflammation will take place for sure, that is guaranteed, because in COVID there is something known as cytokine storm. You must have heard in the news cytokine storm, but what is it? This is basically in our body, this is a defense mechanism. I'll not go into the medical terminology much, I'll keep it simple. This is a defense mechanism in which the cytokines, they are basically inflammatory mediators. Inflammation basically is kind of a protective process that is taking place inside our body in order to prevent the further damage, in order to restrict the damage till a certain level. So these cytokines, they basically act and try to restrict the damage, but by doing so, but in this process, some part of the lungs that gets damaged, So the thing is, obviously the COVID is such a severe virus, severe problem that the world is facing. In this case, the cytokines, they act in a huge amount, and that leads to something known as cytokine storm, and due to that there is fever. This is basically an inflammatory process that is going on. So in inflammation, CRP will rise, that is certain. Okay, so till 10 we consider that there is no inflammation, normal CRP, but even if it is more than 10, obviously in COVID it is considered normal up till the level of 25. This has been proved in multiple research, and even some research state that CRP up till the level of 50 is normal in the cases of COVID, provided the fact your SpO2 levels or the oxygen saturation levels of the blood are normal, are more than 93. So I wanna. The thing is basically it's a request to all the patients, the common people, those who are watching this video, to kindly refer to some genuine doctor who has an Indian medical license at least, not to someone who is not having an Indian medical license, or to some Jhola Chhap doctor, to the quacks, those who are sitting in every corner of our city. Coming on to the next point, day before yesterday, Dr. Randeep Guleria sir, the director of the AIIMS Delhi, he clear-cut stated a fact in the press conference, especially arranged for the fact that these days people are running behind HRCT. Okay, I have COVID, I need to get HRCT. I have COVID, I need to get HRCT. People, they don't know the pros and the cons of HRCT. HSCT, if done in the mild cases, will do more damage than good. This is the line that was said exactly by Randeep Guleria sir. So the thing is, in HRCT, we calculate two scores, CORAD score and the severity score. So these two scores help us to conclude the fact that what type of viral infection is there, is it COVID or non-COVID, I mean to say, and what is the severity. But this is only required if the patient is having moderate type of COVID, and the patient is usually hospitalized. Usually in mild cases, these things are not required. Now, how do we identify, is it mild, moderate, or the severe case? I won't talk about severe because that is totally a hospital scenario, but how to differentiate between mild and moderate, because that is a distinguishing line for home isolation and for hospital admission. So if your respiratory rate is less than 24 and your saturation is more than 93, then that is mild. Fever, even if it is without fever, with fever, that doesn't matter. If these two things are there, that your condition is mild and you can be easily managed at home under the guidance of some qualified physician. But if these criteria are not getting matched, I mean to say your saturation level is either less than 93 or your respiration rate is more than 24, that means that you are having a moderate disease, and these conditions usually require a hospital ward admission. But obviously these are the shortage of the hospital bed. These things are also getting managed at home, but these things required rigorous management by the doctor. You might be needing an oxygen support, you might be needing, in this case, HRCT is required, but not like that in every case we'll get it done. So the people are like, okay, I have COVID, I'll get HRCT done. I'll have COVID, I'll get HRCT done. No, please don't do that, because the CT scan, it uses multiple X-rays, and all of you know that the X-rays, they are ionizing radiations. They basically do harm to your body. So in long term, what happens is exposure to these rays, it can lead to cancer. So right now we are battling a pandemic of COVID, but due to these silly mistakes that we are committing right now as a common man, would land up this world which will be full of cancer, lung cancer or any other cancer of the body. And all of you know that cancer is something serious, just like the COVID, cancer is something serious. So I don't want any of you, any of non-medical people, those who are suffering from disease, the citizens of my country, to get befooled by the fact that we need to get HRCT done. No, you need only HRCT done if it has been advised by the doctor. Doctor will obviously check your condition, your clinical condition, will auscultate, and only after that he'll decide that does he needs an HRCT or not. Please don't get it done just like that. Just like you are thinking I need to get it done, please don't do that. So now I'll be coming on to the point about antibiotics. In COVID, we prescribe antibiotics. Basically, antibiotics are prescribed in order to prevent the secondary infection, because in COVID, the immune system, it gets weakened, and hence multiple bacteria, they can attack your body. So we need to fight against those, because in majority of the cases of the COVID, the cause of the death is not itself the COVID. The cause of the death are other factors, other infections, other comorbidities, which become the cause of the death in the patients who are recovering from COVID or having COVID. So I'll talk about the fact that if that usually we are using two antibiotics, doxycycline and azithromycin. Both of them, they have the course of 5 days each, but obviously we should not mix match them. Either one should take doxycycline only for 5 days or azithromycin only for 5 days. But what I have noticed, some of these people, those who call themselves the doctors but are actually not, so what are they doing is they are prescribing for example, the patient has taken 2 days doxycycline, they are like, it's okay, for next 3 days you can take azithromycin. No, that is a big no, because that will lead to creation of a resistance in your body. Resistance against the basically the bacteria and the pathogens. They will develop a resistance, and I don't know how many of you know this thing or not. The world's most resistant pathogen is found in India. It was labeled by the name of New Delhi. It was labeled by the fact the world knows this thing, that the world's deadliest, the world's most resistant bacteria was discovered in India. So it's a big shame for all of us, for those who are taking, those just going to the chemist and asking him for this antibiotic or that antibiotic, and the chemist is also giving you. This practice should stop, because this is the reason behind the fact that that the antibiotic resistance is becoming a big problem in India. Now these days, if you go and see in the ICU, when we do the blood culture, we find that we test that against almost 10-15 antibiotics, and hardly we are able to find 1 or 2 which are to which the pathogen is sensitive. So this is a big problem that we are facing. This problem will rise in future if we don't stop these practices as of today. And these so-called doctors are contributing a lot in these things. They are contributing a lot to increase our problems. It's my request to all of you, please open your eyes and stop doing these things. Until unless you don't have some experience, please refrain yourself from doing these things. It's like you are not doing any good. Even if your intentions are good, you're not doing any good. You're just harming the clinical condition of the patient. Please don't do that. It's my humble request to all of you. And the antibiotics, and the course of the antibiotics should always be finished properly. It should not be left in the middle, because if you leave it in the middle, because usually, for example, the antibiotic course is of 5 days, people take it for 2 days, 3 days, after that they feel better. I agree, they feel better, but this does not mean that you need to stop it over there. Antibiotic course is developed in such a way so that the pathogen is completely eradicated from your body. But when you are leaving it in the middle by the fact that you're feeling fine, okay, I don't need to continue it. So in that case, what happens is that the pathogen that becomes docile, that is not able to act against your body much, but it won't die. It will stay inside your body. It will develop resistance. So the next time when you have an infection, it will be much more severe than the first time. So it will automatically become a problem for you. So please don't do these things. So these were the 3 main things that I wanted to share in this video. I know I'm making some sort of a video after a long time, maybe after a gap of 2 years, 3 years. But I really thought of making this because I feel that right now people need to be aware about this thing. And before I finish, I want to say that I'll be dropping a link of my Instagram in the description box. You all can contact me over there regarding any queries related to anything. I want to say thanks a lot to all of you, those who have heard to this video, and I wish all of you a good health. Please take care of yourselves, follow all the precautions, wear the mask, carry the sanitizers, avoid crowding, stay inside, avoid going out as much as possible. Take care, all of you. I wish you a good health. Bye bye.